The Health Department has been dealt a massive blow this week after the High Court in Pretoria ruled that the National Health Act's Certificate of Need is unconstitutional and invalid. The judgment will now go to the Constitutional Court for evaluation. The Act requires doctors to apply for a certificate from the department before they can establish a practice in a specific area. For more on this, I'm joined by the South African Medical Association's board chairperson, Dr. Mvuyisi Mzukwa. Dr. Mzukwa, good to see you as always. Let's talk more about what this certificate of need was and why it was such a problem for health workers, doctors specifically.
Good afternoon to you, Temegile, and to your viewers, and thanks for having me in your program. Temegile, this was brought in by the Department of Health. Obviously, they are trying by all means to have practitioners or healthcare services in the rural areas, whether they be in the form of personnel or establishment, but there must be services, throughout. Obviously, they are mandated by the legislation to make sure that there are services all over the country. And a principle that we agree with all the time, we've always agreed that no one should be left out. But the problem now is that at this point in time, you needed a certificate to practice in an area, and there must be an evaluation, by the Department of Health to say, these are the services we need. Do we have enough? Do we not have enough? For anyone to practice in that particular area, it must have been assessed for the needs and of services, but also you must be in possession of that certificate after all these processes that you go through for that assessment. And the Department of Health, through the DG, must issue out that certificate at the end of the day. And if you don't possess that certificate, you are now committing crime. So the problem is that we have with that approach is that you are using just one aspect of dealing with provision of services in those rural areas. We know that healthcare is not only about personnel. It's also about other issues, other determinants of health. Now, if you have a doctor going there in the rural areas, first of all, you need to make sure that the conditions of work are such a way that the doctor will be able to discharge his duties in that area or her duties. But on top of that, if that doctor is going there with the family, you must make sure there are schools around there, obviously functional schools, not schools with pit toilets and stuff like that, that are there, and also other amenities that are around in the area. You must make sure that there's provision of those. There's road, there's all the infrastructure that you need. Now, you can't choose that just one aspect and say you want to deliver healthcare, but you must just forget about all other issues, as if healthcare is about a curative aspect only. There are other aspects that we need in the rural areas. So that is why doctors are really not happy with that section.
And some of your colleagues have said in reacting to the news from the High Court that what this requirement had basically done was it had driven some healthcare workers who completed their studies here to go seek work elsewhere, outside the country, basically because they were just simply fed up with the red tape.
Yes, I mean, if you look at it, there's so many things that are really troubling the healthcare system. For example, I mean, before you've got the intern placement and community service doctors. You struggle getting a registration, first of all, from the HPCSA. The HPCSA is dysfunctional, as you know. You've got to be registered, but you have all those serious problems with registration. That takes a lot of time. But on top of that, you've got a problem now with placement of interns. And I'm just narrating to you all these red tapes that you need to go through as a medical doctor.
Right.
And all these things are causing frustration.
But so this is one aspect, correct me if I'm wrong, what this judgment addresses is one aspect. I mean, I was speaking a month ago to a recently graduated medical doctor. I say recently graduated, more than a year ago or so, had been studying abroad, is back now, trying to get through the HSPCSA processes with no luck. So why do those barriers still exist?
Well, already there is a case study already there on that Tembekile. You know, people who have studied abroad, they've taken their issues to the court of law and they've won those cases. But this one, it relates to a doctor who's already in the system, who needs to be now, who's an independent doctor, who needs to practice, you know. Or even if you want to start a private practice, as you know that after community service, you are not employed as a doctor. You need to know you need to see what you do after that. So it was going to be a huge problem, you know, going through that red tape, knowing the failures of the Department of Health. I mean, even with this judgment, you will have noted that Solidarity has been trying by all means to get hold of the Department of Health, communications by email, by anything, because you have a dysfunctional National Department of Health with literally no leadership. That is where you find yourself, where even the courts, you know, are struggling to get hold of whoever needs to be responsible, right, you know, in terms of the legal response.
What do you read then into the fact that the Department of Health did not actually oppose this application?
Well, I am not sure what could be the reason on their side. I'm just thinking that maybe they are waiting for it to go to the Constitutional Court. I am not sure. But it would have been nice, you know, to see, you know, the reasoning behind when they put it before the court of law, so that they defend themselves. I don't understand why you would disrespect a court of law and not avail yourself, you know, to oppose it.
Right. Let's talk about the Department of Health on another score. In the last 24 hours, the department basically pleaded with South Africans not to stigmatize people who've got monkeypox. Some have criticized the department's own handling of communication on monkeypox and the detection of these two cases, because when it was initially framed at that briefing, the department basically narrowed down to sexual transmission, pointing to men who have sex with men, and some have said that is problematic as framing. So I wonder what your take is on the issue of stigma and how government perhaps itself may have contributed to that in the initial communication.
Yeah, I think the Department of Health really needs to get a good communication strategy and have a better ways of communicating. Because if you look at the monkeypox as a disease and how it's contracted, it has nothing to do with that. I mean, if it was discovered, you know, with gay people or stuff like that, that's the case. But it has nothing to do with it. It's just a disease that you contract by direct contact, you know, with a person who's got a condition. It has nothing to do with anything else. So I think they erred there. They need to apologize, by the way, to South Africans for misleading the country.
And is it not too late then for the same department to say, do not stigmatize people who are known monkeypox cases, when that communication already in a country, also, by the way, South Africa, we know, is still very much dealing with a problem around homophobia?
I mean, that's disingenuous for the Department of Health to be saying that people must not be stigmatized, because they've already done it. I mean, they've been always getting it wrong. I mean, from HIV, even COVID-19, coming to monkeypox now. I mean, you need to understand the science of transmission around this thing. I mean, it does not take a person, of high qualification to understand that you do need a direct contact to get a monkeypox. I don't understand how they read literature and how they don't question what is written in the literature. They just copy and paste. Because I can assure you, some of the utterances that they got there, they got it from the website of the World Health Organization, as if this is a super body that cannot be criticized. I mean, if that information is wrong, no matter who writes it, it is wrong.
Dr. Mvuyisi Mzukwa, good to have your time. Thank you.